Welcome to the College Admissions Process Podcast presented by Prep Expert. Prep Expert offers live online SAT and ACT courses with the best score guarantees, instructors, and curriculum. Go to prepexpert.com to guarantee your child's success. I'm also excited to share my book, Straight from the Admissions Office, a review of my biggest takeaways from the first few hundred podcast episodes. It's packed with direct insights from admissions professionals and practical tips to help students and their families navigate the college admissions process. You can find all of the information in the show notes. Welcome to The Cap, where we are here to speak with college reps and other professionals in the field of college admissions to help answer all your questions and guide you through every step of the process. So if you're serious about college admissions, you've come to the right place. Are you ready? Let's talk about it. And now, here's your host, Dr. John Dante. Welcome to The Cap, the College Admissions Process Podcast. I am your host, John Dante, and it gives me great pleasure to introduce to you today Taylor Erickson, who's an admissions counselor at the University of Notre Dame. But Taylor is here to talk about the QuestBridge National College Match process. Taylor, I am so grateful that you are here. I received an email from you, and I thought, wow, what an amazing story. Let me reach out to see if you'd be able to come on, and here we are. So thank you so much. How you doing today, Taylor?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me.
It is our pleasure. And so, Taylor, can you share your journey and what first led you to QuestBridge, and what experiences shaped your college search and ultimately made Notre Dame rise to the top of your list during that college process?
Absolutely. So I'm the oldest of four kids, and so I grew up with the expectation that I should pursue a higher education, but that higher education and actually paying for that higher education was kind of be on my own. So QuestBridge really very quickly became the goal. But I'll be honest that Notre Dame was not very high on my list as a 17 and 18-year-old student. I'm very grateful to have matched to Notre Dame, but the biggest thing is I want to talk about how that got to the top of my list. So actually, during my junior year of high school, Notre Dame offered a presentation near my home in Nashville, Tennessee, and my dad got the email for it. He suggested that we go, and at that point, I already had my list, at least I thought I did, of all of the schools that I wanted to apply for the match process. So I said, why should I go? And my dad said, the worst thing that could happen is you go to that event, you talk with the admissions counselor, and you find that Notre Dame isn't the place for you. And that's a really good outcome. And being the 17 or 18-year-old, I kind of begrudgingly went along with my dad, but we went, my entire family of six and I, we sat maybe third or fourth row back in this massive auditorium. And before we actually sat down, I got to meet with the admissions counselor, and I introduced myself. I said, hi, my name is Taylor. I'm interested in going pre-med. I kid you not, that is all I said. And he said, that's great. Go have a seat in the auditorium. We'll get started. And we went in there, and he started talking about Notre Dame's medical school acceptance rate. As someone who was interested in pre-med, it really grabbed my attention. And he did the absolute unexpected. He pointed me out by name in front of that whole full auditorium. And I remember walking away from that session, of course, feeling a little embarrassed that I had just been pointed out in front of a whole crowd of people. But I also felt seen, and it was that feeling of being seen and being known that really drew me to Notre Dame. And I started doing more research, and in the process of doing research, I actually found out that my theology teacher in high school went to Notre Dame. So we had lunch together, and she said that Notre Dame, it goes above and beyond your typical 4-for-4 commitment as far as higher education goes. You don't attend Notre Dame for 4 years just to get your diploma and move on. You're welcomed into the Notre Dame family the minute that you're admitted, and that family, you stay in that family for life. So that's really what drew me to Notre Dame, and I'm very glad to now be working as an admission counselor with Notre Dame.
Well, great advice from your father to go to that event. And obviously it was destiny. Here you are, not only as a graduate, but as someone who's working in the admissions office. And I also appreciate that you shared that you knew early that you would have to be paying a lot of this on your own, which is something that a lot of families don't take the time to talk about early in the process, only to find out later on that they can't afford it. So good for you and your family, Taylor. And for those who may not be as familiar, can you walk us through what the QuestBridge National College Match process looks like, from applying to ranking schools to potentially matching, as you mentioned, and what makes it different from traditional college admissions?
Absolutely. So the QuestBridge National College Match is a college admission and scholarship process through which high-achieving students from low-income backgrounds can be admitted early with full 4-year scholarships to some of the nation's top colleges and universities. Through the National College Match application, students who have excelled academically despite financial hardship can highlight their unique story and stand out in the admissions process. And I'll break it down into a couple of steps. So step 1 is students submit their National College Match application in September, which will then be reviewed by the QuestBridge committee to determine if they will be finalists. Step 2, students are able to rank up to 15 colleges to be matched or admitted with early admission to a match scholarship to the college that appears highest on their list and is able to match with them. Just a little bit of an overview, the match scholarship is a full 4-year scholarship to one of QuestBridge College partners, which is worth over $325,000. To receive the match scholarship that covers tuition, housing and food, and other expenses, you must rank colleges. By ranking colleges, you can be matched, which means admitted early with a guaranteed full 4-year match scholarship to the college that appears highest on your list and is able to match with you. Now, step 3, QuestBridge selects top applicants as finalists, and finalists submit match requirements to college partners on their rankings list. Step 4, in December, finalists learn if they have matched to a college that they ranked. And step 5, finalists who do not match or choose not to rank colleges can use their QuestBridge application to apply to QuestBridge's partners through other early action or regular decision opportunities. Note that students who plan to apply only through QuestBridge regular decision must submit a National College Match application by the late September deadline.
Well, we really appreciate that overview, and I'm glad you're here because this is exactly why I brought you. I know that there's a lot of listeners out there that really can benefit from the QuestBridge application, but so many really know nothing about it. So again, Taylor, we appreciate it. And from your experience, what types of students tend to thrive in the QuestBridge program, both during the application process and once they're on campus, and what personal qualities or mindsets help them succeed?
Yeah, so QuestBridge finalists are exceptional students who challenge themselves by taking and excelling in their high school's most rigorous courses. These students perform at a high level in the most challenging courses offered and demonstrate strong writing ability and intellectual curiosity. That certainly will make them stand out in the application process. One thing to acknowledge about the application process, as I've just outlined, is the deadlines are tightly clustered together. The application is due in late September, match rankings are due in mid-October, finalist decisions are released near the end of October, and all supplementary materials for each school that a finalist ranks are due on November 1st. Now, I'm a very detail-oriented person, so I had a spreadsheet with all of the essays and other supplementary information typed out so that, in case I was not named a finalist, I could copy and paste all of my hard work into the Common application. That is always my biggest recommendation to students who are considering the National College Match. It is a fantastic opportunity, and you want to make sure you keep track of all of your work, so keep a spreadsheet with you. When students are on campus, they'll be most successful if they're open to asking for help. I know this doesn't apply to every student considering the match process, but I was a student who did well in high school because the material frankly came easy to me. I didn't have to put a lot of effort into studying to achieve good grades. But college is a whole different ballgame. I learned very quickly that I needed to be willing to go talk with my professors and be willing to say I need help. Honestly, that willingness to go and ask for help is probably the most important thing to your success in college. And that's true outside of the classroom as well. Being away from home can be and was very difficult. To add to that, I had a lot of different things going on while I was a student, both at home and in my personal life, and I just needed someone to talk to. I'm very grateful for all of the support that I had at Notre Dame through my RAs and other hall staff, as well as the University Counseling Center. But even outside of those resources, it's important to be open to connections. Each QuestBridge College partner has a QuestBridge Scholars Network chapter on their campus, which helps to create spaces for scholars to build friendships with peers from similar backgrounds and share knowledge about helpful resources on campus.
Well, I think that's great, and the importance of advocating for yourself. And it seems like there's supports both during the application, but also once you're on campus. And I also love how you talked about you approached the application knowing that in case you didn't get accepted for QuestBridge, you would be able to copy and paste many of the sections and just use it in the Common App, which I think is terrific advice. And in terms of advice, what advice would you give students on approaching essays while telling their story authentically?
Yeah, you kind of hint at it in this question, to be honest. Be authentic. The QuestBridge application truly seeks to understand the full context of a student's life and their authentic self. Approaching the essays with authenticity means telling your story in your own voice, focusing on what has genuinely shaped you. The biggest thing to remember about the QuestBridge personal essay, and honestly the personal statement on either the Common application or Apply Coalition with SCORE, there's a word limit. This means it is impossible to tell your whole story. So rather than trying to boil yourself down to 800 words or so, I always advise that students try to give us a chapter of their life. Tell us, as admissions counselors, about a specific experience that illustrates who you are. Tell us about what's important to you. Give us a little insight into your world. My colleagues at Notre Dame and I like to use the example of the printer test when we talk to prospective students about their essays. It goes like this. Let's say you were to type your essays out in a document, print them out, and leave them on a printer without your name on it. Would someone who knows you really well be able to pick up your essays and say, "Oh my goodness, these are Taylor's essays. I need to make sure they get these"? That is a great way to make sure that you're being authentic in your essays, and that authenticity will make you stand out in the application process.
Well, I think that's great advice in terms of the printer test that you shared, whether or not you're using the QuestBridge application or the Common App or frankly anything else. If someone reads your essay without your name on it, will they know that, oh my God, this is Taylor or this is John or what have you? I think that's
Right.
tremendous advice no matter what application students use. And Taylor, when approaching the QuestBridge application, how should students think strategically about submitting test scores and securing letters of recommendation that truly highlight their strengths?
Yeah, so this is where the spreadsheet I mentioned earlier comes in handy. Making sure that you have all of the information about each of the college partners you rank is incredibly important, especially if you're considering submitting testing. Some college partners are test optional, while some still require test scores, so it's important that you know what each college partner requires. As far as how students should think strategically, when it comes to submitting standardized test scores, it's important to understand that it's not a clear-cut process. I say this because most of the college partners and QuestBridge itself for finalist applications utilize a holistic application review process, which means that no one piece of the application is most important. All aspects of an application are critical in helping create a picture of each individual applicant. Now, when considering whether you should submit test scores, I would advise that number one, consider whether you feel that your score is representative of your abilities as a student. And number two, talk with your high school guidance counselor to see what they recommend. As for securing letters of recommendation, I always recommend that students should choose teachers that know them best rather than choosing teachers who teach a subject most related to their major or their intended area of study. Make sure you check which each college partner requires, as some require recommendations from other people as well.
Well, I'm so glad that you mentioned the high school guidance counselors that truly are a wealth of information. So a big shout out to them. And by the way, Taylor, there are many school counselors and even private counselors who listen to this podcast. So what guidance can they provide students that makes a real difference regarding the QuestBridge application?
Yeah, in addition to everything I've already said, one of the most helpful things you all can do is familiarize yourself with the QuestBridge process. When I was going through the application process, I felt kind of alone in my knowledge about QuestBridge, and it would have been really helpful to have someone who took the time to learn about the process, even if it's not a process that other students on their caseload are going through. The QuestBridge team is great. I'm learning a lot more about that being on the admissions side of things now. Ask them questions if you need to, and use their website. It is an awesome resource. There are a ton of worksheets, FAQs, and videos on the QuestBridge website that can help you and your students feel confident in the process.
Well, we appreciate that. And we'll definitely link those websites that you mentioned and anything else, Taylor, that you want to share with the students and the families that are listening, and also the private and public counselors. Anything that you want to share, just send them to me. And of course, we'll make them available in the podcast episode show notes. So now that you're on the admission side, how does your experience as a QuestBridge Scholar influence the way you connect with and even support students today?
I am really passionate about making sure counselors and students know that QuestBridge is an option for the college application process. I think most students that I interact with are really familiar with the Common Application and Apply Coalition with SCORE. I also want to make sure that they know QuestBridge is an option for them. Like I said, I felt like I navigated through the match process on my own. So I try to make sure that every student I interact with knows that I am in their corner and that other admissions counselors feel the same way. This year, I've had the opportunity to share my own story with QuestBridge to some of our applicants, and it's been really cool to see the impact of that. And like I said, I really want to make sure that students know that myself and other admissions counselors from other institutions want to help make sure that they get all of the information that they need.
Well, we appreciate that. And there's a lot of students and families out there that are really unsure, even unfamiliar with QuestBridge. So are there any common myths you'd like to clear up for our listeners?
Yeah, one question I always get from students is it worth it? The QuestBridge National College Match is a long process, as we've been talking about through this entire episode, and there's no guarantee that you'll match to a school. However, I am always a proponent of opportunities. The match is certainly a fantastic opportunity, and it is one that I am so, so grateful for. Without it, I believe that not only would I have not graduated from Notre Dame, but I also believe that I wouldn't be sitting here doing this podcast as a Notre Dame admissions counselor. Is the match a lot of work? Yes, but is it also worth it? 1,000%. Like I've said before, just make sure you're keeping track of all of your information in a spreadsheet.
That's terrific advice. And Taylor, as someone who now works on the admissions side, what would you say is an example of a question that you wish more students and their families would ask as part of their overall college search?
Yeah, so less an example of a specific question and more an example of a family of questions or a type of question. I wish more people would ask questions to gauge whether we, as colleges and universities, are good fits for them. I think a lot of people go into the college application process trying to make themselves seem like the best fit for the colleges and universities they want to apply to. I think that process should go both ways. As you navigate the college search process, you should also figure out what colleges and universities are good fits for you. If you want to learn more about a particular institution and you can't find the answer to something on their website and you want to hear about it directly from an admissions counselor, you can always email or call us. We want to help give you as much information as we can so you can ultimately make the best decision for yourself as to which institution you will eventually attend.
Well, we really appreciate those pieces of advice. And this has truly been a terrific conversation, Taylor. And I like to ask, before getting to my last question, is there a question that I didn't ask you today or simply a topic that I didn't bring up that you'd like to share with us now?
I just want to reiterate that admissions counselors want to help you. One thing that I struggled with during my own college search process was each website being so different. The information I wanted to find was never in the same place from site to site. And I wish I knew that admissions counselors were willing to answer questions either over the phone or via email, because I definitely would have utilized them as a resource. So I'm telling all of you, ask us questions, email us, call us. We're more than happy to help.
Well, that's tremendous advice and truly the reason why I have a podcast, because going through it with my own daughters, I realized that you really are so accessible. You are admissions counselors. You want to admit students. You want to help students and their families. And so we're so grateful for your time today and so much more. Unfortunately, it does lead us to the last question, Taylor, which always is, what are your top 3 pieces of advice for students and their families getting ready for the college admissions process?
My top 3 pieces of advice are: number 1, ask questions. Number 2, keep track of your work. And 3, take a deep breath. As I said earlier, you should ask questions of the institutions to which you are applying. Ask us as counselors, do your research, consider if the institution you are considering is a place you could call home for the next 4 years or so. Having a spreadsheet or other document to keep track of your research and other related work is incredibly important, especially if you are considering the match process. It takes a lot of hard work to apply to the match, and you want to make sure that you have it all well documented. Finally, take a breath. This process will be one of the busiest times in your life. It can be easy to get caught up in the chaos, but make sure you're also taking time for yourself. Read a book, write a poem, go see a movie with your friends. Do at least one thing every day that makes you smile. And if you ever need any help, please always ask.
Well, Taylor, you're terrific. Clearly, Notre Dame is so fortunate to have you, as were we, on this podcast episode. Congratulations on all your success at Notre Dame as a student and now in their admissions office. I hope to have you again in the future because this was awesome. There are so many students and families that never even heard of QuestBridge. Now, I definitely know we whet their appetite. So again, we appreciate you, Taylor. Thank you so much.
Absolutely, John. Thank you so much for having me.
Our pleasure. And to everyone out there, good luck with the college search. Take care all, and best wishes. Thank you for joining us on this episode of the CAP, the College Admissions Process Podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show. If you did, please don't forget to tell a friend and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and wherever you listen to your podcasts. I am your host, John Dante, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode of the CAP. Thank you for listening to the College Admissions Process Podcast presented by Prep Expert. Prep Expert offers live online SAT and ACT courses with the best score guarantees, instructors, and curriculum. Go to prepexpert.com to guarantee your child's success.